The blackened waters of the gods, a lake reflected the pale light of the waning sun, but the peace of the tranquil setting was a cruel illusion. High above, the skies were torn apart by fire and steel as two dragons circled each other, their roars echoing like thunder across the land. Prince Aemon Targaryen, the one-eyed prince, rode atop Vhagar, the largest and oldest dragon in the world. Her immense wings darkened the skies, her scales gleaming like molten bronze. Beneath him, the weight of his grudge against Prince Daemon Targaryen fueled his resolve. This was not a battle born of strategy, it was vengeance, personal and consuming. Across the sky soared Caraxes, the bloodworm, ridden by Daemon, the rogue prince. Caraxes was lean and savage, his crimson body a streak of blood against the heavens. His screeches were sharper, filled with a wild fury that mirrored his rider's infamous temper. Daemon wore no armor, his confidence was his shield, his unyielding will his weapon. The skies above the gods' eyes seemed to hold their breath as the dragons closed in. Vhagar roared, the sound shaking the leaves of Harrenhal far below. Caraxes responded with a piercing shriek, a war cry that promised death. Aemon glared down at Daemon, his sapphire eye gleaming beneath his helm. He had waited for this moment. The memory of Lucerys's death, of his nephew's terrified cries before his body was swallowed by the storm-tossed sea, still burned in his mind. This battle wasn't for the Iron Throne, it was for blood, for pride, for the legacy of his house. Daemon smirked, fearless even in the face of Vhagar's towering presence. He whispered to Caraxes, urging the dragon forward. "Let's finish this, old friend," his actions seemed to say. Vhagar struck first, her massive jaws snapping with the power to crush castle walls. Caraxes twisted mid-air, narrowly avoiding the bite, his agile body moving like a serpent in the wind. Daemon and Aemon exchanged glances through the chaos, each man's hatred palpable, their bond as Targaryens overshadowed by their thirst for each other's destruction. Caraxes counterattacked, his claws raking across Vhagar's side, leaving deep gashes that spilled dark blood into the skies. Vhagar roared in pain, but retaliated with her fiery breath. The flames lit up the heavens, consuming the space where Caraxes had been a heartbeat earlier. The bloodworm dove, narrowly escaping the inferno, the heat singing his crimson scales. Below, the watchers at Harrenhal marveled in terror. The spectacle was both magnificent and horrifying, the dragons locked in a deadly dance of flame and fury, their riders mere extensions of their hatred. As the dragons clashed, Aemon's fury overtook his reason. He urged Vhagar higher, into the thinning air where her immense size gave her the advantage. Caraxes pursued, his movements more erratic, his jaw snapping at Vhagar's tail. The moment came in a flash. Caraxes surged upward, his claws digging into Vhagar's underbelly. The great dragon roared in agony, but Aemon steadied her, driving her upward. Higher and higher they climbed, until the god's eye below was a mere speck of blue. Daemon saw his chance. With a wicked grin, he unstrapped himself from Caraxes and leapt from the dragon's saddle, sword in hand. Aemon barely had time to react as Daemon landed on Vhagar's neck, his blade flashing in the fading sunlight. Aemon swung his own sword, their steel clashing in midair, sparks flying as their hatred reached its peak. But Daemon's fury was unstoppable. He drove his blade deep into Daemon's unprotected eye, the sapphire shattering as blood poured down his face. Aemon screamed, a sound that echoed across the skies, but it was too late. Vhagar, mortally wounded and blinded with rage, spiraled out of control. Caraxes, his strength nearly spent, clung to her as they plummeted toward the god's eye below. The two dragons were locked in a deadly embrace, their massive bodies twisting and turning. They fell. Daemon, still clinging to Vhagar, looked toward the ground with grim acceptance. He had no intention of surviving this battle. This was not a fight for victory, it was a sacrifice, a final act to seal his name in the annals of history. With a deafening crash, the dragons hit the water, the force of their impact sending waves rolling across the god's eye, The surface churned and boiled as the beasts thrashed in their death throes, their roars fading into silence. The lake grew still, its once clear waters now darkened with blood. No sign of demon, Aemond, or the dragons remained. Harrenhal's watchers whispered of what they had seen, their voices filled with awe and fear. Legends say the god's eye became cursed that day, haunted by the spirits of the fallen Targaryens and their dragons. Some claim to hear the echoes of their battle through the winds above the lake, a reminder of the day when fire and blood consumed the skies. Daemon and Aemon's hatred had destroyed them both, but their clash became one of the greatest tales of the Dance of the Dragons. It was not a story of victory, but of vengeance, of the tragic course of pride, and the unrelenting fury of House Targaryen.